Welcome to Live Action Star Wars. I'm Ralph.
I'm James.
And today we're discussing Andor Episode 3, Reckoning.
Reckoning. We have titles. We're 3 days
God.
after the release, and last night Disney Plus seemed to add titles to all these episodes.
Did someone forget?
I think it's got to be because they released 3 at once. They didn't want it to be spoilers. Not that any of these titles are spoilery at all.
Like, why?
It's bizarre. And also, like, I get it I was thinking about this because we had this discussion last night when we were talking about the show. And I get it with Mandalorian because we do refer to episodes of The Mandalorian by their titles. We know those titles. But again, it's like we said yesterday, that's much more of an episodic show. You can sort of go, this is that episode. This is the Sanctuary episode. This is, the rescue episode, things like that. This show so far, at least, it's not that split. It's serialized. It's just one long thing.
Right.
It's weird.
But also, like, I was telling Stevie yesterday, I was watching Jay's show, which didn't feature me because he chose to have Matt Eichhoff on instead.
Rude.
Yeah, I'll be on next week to talk about that.
There'll be a reckoning.
They started talking about the show and then forgot to put up the spoiler warning. And I'm like, there's nothing really to spoil because there's still no Star Wars stuff in it. Even the ships that have the same silhouette as the Republic clone drop ships,
they're a different ship.
They're different. It's a completely different ship.
It's obviously from the same line, sort of thing. Like they share some DNA, but they're not the same ship.
Like, the only thing Star Wars so far has been the sound of a speeder bike.
Sound of a speeder bike and the Separatist logo on potentially Republic officers. We don't know. But yeah, that is it.
But why hold the episode titles for 3 days? I think someone forgot to put them in on day one. It doesn't make any sense. They're not spoilers.
No.
Like, it's called Reckoning. There's probably like 5 episodes of Clone Wars called that.
At least.
Yeah.
There's a reckoning in every show. I think it could be a case of they just didn't bother naming them, and then after the fact, people were talking about it and they were like, oh yeah, I suppose all the other shows do have names. But they weren't like on the shooting script or anything. As like,
I don't think Obi-Wan does.
Were they just chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3?
I don't remember, and I did the
I
artwork
can't remember
too.
I can't remember. But again, that sort of played into the movie.
I had the artwork set in place. Disney put out their tentpole show that's going on right now, and I assumed they're just calling them episode 1, 2, 3, 4.
Works fine.
Locked our artwork into place. And then yesterday I popped on episode 3 and I was like, you gotta be kidding me.
Yeah. So, okay. So Reckoning is a pretty it makes sense for the episode. And sure. It's mentioned, the line is said in the episode, which is fine. But if you had to rename this episode something different, what would you call it?
Oh, I don't know. I have no idea. You've got something in mind.
Shit. Because they said shit in Star Wars. Like, it blew my mind. I
didn't even notice. Who said it?
I mean, unless they took it out second time around, because I got to be honest, I was just watching it again and I didn't really notice, but I think I just glossed over it. It was the other cop, the dickhead cop.
Someone called him Space Farva.
Linus Mosk. He says it like after they blow up the thing and like as they're about to make their escape, he just says shit.
Okay,
and I was like,
so
wow.
So here's the thing then. It's used in a context that is totally fine to use, like that I didn't even register that they said it.
Yeah, exactly. Like it just flows because it's sort of natural dialogue.
Okay.
But it would have felt weird, I think, if that guy and how aggressive we'd seen him, if he turned around and gone poodoo, it wouldn't have made it would have felt comedic. It wouldn't have had the same weight. Whereas you say shit and it just feels natural for that situation.
I didn't even notice. And you know what's funny is this show is so not the Star Wars formula that it's almost, I don't think of it as a Star Wars show. Like today's the first time, like today's the most action-packed, or this episode 3 is the most action-packed one we've seen since. And we have like blaster fights and stuff. And it was like, was exciting.
It was
the build up to this episode has been shit's gonna hit the fan.
Yeah, you know it's coming.
And we've had 2 days to sort of process this. And now that it's happened, it's like, holy crap, there's like stakes here. Even though I know Andor's not going to get killed, it's still like everybody else is getting jacked up.
But that's it. Like everyone else so far is on the table. Like anyone and everyone can go. And that's people that we like, people that we don't like. They're all fodder for this show, which is great. And then because of that tension, like the first 2 episodes set it up, and then we knew that it was coming in episode 2, but we didn't get there yet. Almost from the start of this episode until the gunfight breaks out, there's this chime, like, and it's sporadic. It's like a jing, and like there's little music, or it's quite like subdued music if there is any, and there's this chime, and it just adds tension. It's like a Hitchcock movie sort of thing, where it's like there's just this tension going throughout, and it's really good. Like as Cassian's talking to Luthen, Space Stellen Skarsgard in the warehouse, like it's sort of ramping up because you know that it's coming, because the cops are in town, they're raiding places, they're harassing his mum, they're being cops, and it's just really, really, like, you know that shit is about to hit the fan.
Yeah,
this is about to hit the fan.
Yeah, and this episode makes it clear why Disney dropped 3 at once.
Absolutely. Yeah. This is I don't know if I'd say that these 3 feel like a full movie, but they feel like an arc of the show. It definitely is telling this
almost like the Clone Wars, sort of formula of doing like 3 episode
in later
arcs.
Seasons. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because he's in a ship, he's off to join the rebellion.
Well, I mean, we don't know. I have a theory about that as well. Like, I think that he's going to go and get a taste of it. I think that Luthen's going to take him wherever he wants to take him, basically show him this larger world, this bigger fight, and don't you want to be a part of this bigger fight? Yeah. But because of everything that he's brought on his people, and he's seen that the town is kicking off, and that montage that we got of all the people in town, and the contrast of that, where his buddy's at the bar drinking, looking pissed off. His best friend is weeping over her dead boyfriend. The 2 guys that have helped him, that have been his mates, are just like, we got to get out of here. Like, shit's going off. His mum is looking like, fuck, here we go again. And it's like, and his droid is just super sad and emo. Like I think he's going to feel some level of guilt about that. And he's going to want to go back and be like, screw your rebellion. I'm not a part of your big fight. I want to go, and I need to go and help my people. I need to look after my people. Yeah. And whatever happens, unless and then by the end Skywalker. Of it, it's
unless it's a Luke Skywalker situation. Yeah, but will we see his
well, I mean, I think by
burning body
by the end of the season, I think. But look, again, this is complete speculation. I would guess that he is going, and he's gonna go get a taste of it, say I don't want any part of this, and then leave, go back, and then by the end of the season, maybe midway through, it's a long season, go and rejoin the fight and then be a part of it. And then we've got the next like season doing 4 years worth of him in the rebellion doing stuff in 3 episode chunks. I think they've already said it's gonna be 3 episode chunks like this.
Well, yeah, this is which is a great setup with this too, is that they're doing 3. This thing feels like 3 at a time. I have no idea what 4, 5, and 6 are going to be like.
I think that's what they're doing director-wise as well. I think that each director did blocks of 3.
Okay.
Which is really cool. Because that's that, you know, they've got a formula, they've got a format that they're sticking to.
Yeah.
And it's weird. It made me go at the end of it. I was like, well, why because the people that got like screeners and they showed at the premiere and stuff, they all saw 4 episodes. And it made me go, weird, why did they do 4? Because this is clearly a capping point. And I think it has to be that episode 4, we're going to get like an introduction to the Mon Mothma side of the story. And so probably they just wanted to show that off.
Show Star Wars.
Basically, they wanted to show the Star Wars of it all. They wanted to show some Coruscant, the Senate, all of that stuff. Just to be like, hey, look, this is all coming. don't have to wait until halfway through the season. It's going to be in the next arc, but we wanted to kick it off with this because we had one sort of concise story to tell there.
Right. I was watching, they did the This Week in Star Wars on their Star Wars YouTube channel, just did the thing where they talk to people on the red carpet and stuff.
Cool.
And Tony Gilroy was saying they've been working on this for like 3 years.
Yeah.
And they said they've sort of been in this bubble, and it's finally, they can't believe it's finally being out there. And the thing I like about it, it looks like it's carefully crafted.
It does. It feels
so
everything feels deliberate. Everything about it feels deliberate, and that's great. It doesn't feel like a fly, like shooting and fly your pants, sort of like.
Even if it's a slow burn, even if it's like, oh, this scene is. Even watching it, I know, okay, I need to pay attention to this scene because there's something there. It's in here for a reason, even if it feels like a throwaway scene. But everything sort of like came to a head, and I was like, oh man, this is so great. Stellan
Skarsgard. Yeah.
I really like his plan of finding these people who acquire Empire junk,
people who are fighting the rebellion, fighting the Empire without even knowing that they're doing it, like for a greater good. Yeah.
Like him going on like Space Craigslist to find this thing and being like, okay, this person clearly is able to get behind.
How Empire. Are they doing it?
Yeah.
Are there skills that we can use in the rebellion? This like at this point, like nascent, like upstart rebellion.
And this piece that he had was in the sort of
literal like MacGuffin box. It's brilliant.
Yeah. So that's the thing he's been keeping in the what I've been calling the Biggs Dark Lighter box.
Yeah. The big box.
He slaps it comes down. Yeah. So
which is the ship that he was sort of taken off of his planet with
right. So did he just get it from them, or did we see him get it from somewhere else?
It definitely
really doesn't want to say where he got it from.
No, he doesn't at all. But it has the same sort of feel and look of that ship, like what we thought was a separatist ship now kind of looks a bit more Republic, and the way that they were talking, it sounds like it was Republic, but they were in separatist uniforms. Don't know. There's videos galore
separatist
about
spies,
or the other way around, or like Republic like had. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe we'll find out more. Hopefully, maybe we won't. Maybe they'll do that in the Bad Batch or something.
No, don't do that. There's too many of these episodes to just be like put it in a cartoon.
I don't think that Tony Gilroy's got any interest in tying it into the other shows and things like that. I think he's just doing his own show, which is great,
which I love. I got to be honest. Like, listen, Filoni's great. Favreau, I have issues with, but just having a new voice,
it's great.
Is refreshing. And listening to Kathleen Kennedy talk about this on the red carpet, she was saying how, it's nice to start dipping their toes into other genres. This is a spy thriller. And she was saying that, she's a little apprehensive because she's saying that this one skews more towards adults, and she's like, we'll see how that goes. It's nice that they're taking chances. I mean, it's Star Wars. People are going to show up, and if this experiment of Andor isn't a success, hopefully it doesn't mean they'll go back to like just doing the formula.
Well, like love it or hate it, it feels like they have pulled back on taking chances since Last Jedi. Right. Like she let Rian Johnson do what he wanted to do there, and depending on who you are, you have different opinions on that. But since I
have different opinions on it, and I'm one dude.
Exactly,
like, I'm split right down the middle on that movie.
Exactly, like so. I'm glad that she's gone. Okay, right. Let's ease back into it, and this feels like a safer place to do that than a multi-million-dollar tentpole movie. I like. She gets a lot of hate unnecessarily. I think Kathleen Kennedy has done a really good job of getting the right people on these projects, and then unfortunately, because they are the right people, they're getting snapped up by other things that are pulling them away. And so they definitely announce things too early. For a long time, they were announcing things too early, and so that they don't come to fruition, or they don't come to fruition for a long, long time. But give me more Rian Johnson. Give me the Taika movie. Give me Rogue Squadron. Give me all of these things. I don't need Rangers of the New Republic, but everything else,
I don't think I think that one's done.
I think that one they've fully killed. Yeah. But anything else, like any of the other things that are announced, given to me, I don't care when. Like just like when people are available, when Donald Glover's available, do the Lando show. Like,
and don't tell us about it.
Don't tell us until it's in production. Yeah. Like the Acolyte they can talk about now. That's in production. That's great, cool. But everything else, like just hold off until it's shooting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Leave the big like announcements and the banners to Marvel because they're doing a million things, so it's all good. We haven't said hello to everyone, so let's just go down the list. I know that you guys are all chatting away over there. StreamYard here as always. We love you, StreamYard. Thank you.
Never missed an episode.
No, they're the only ones, I think. Mark's here for almost every episode. Jeremy Kelly's here. Tristan's here as well. Welcome back, Tristan.
Tristan.
Yeah, Tristan, we were laughing because you put that up just before we started, and Ralph's not a big fan of the hello there's.
It drives me nuts. It's the new This Is the Way.
It's the original This Is the Way, surely.
No, It's a Trap is the original.
Okay, yeah. Scott D is here, Lucci Johnny's here, Sarah's here. I assume Stevie's there somewhere.
She came in a little bit later.
There you go. Holdo podcast, you guys are you're here in two ways, Mark.
Mark's here doing Mark's double duty.
Well.
Mark and Holdo are the it's like me with Last Jedi. It's like two halves.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
it's a dyad.
You are a fourth dyad. Yeah, it's great to see you guys all chatting away and coming up with your own thoughts and theories in there. Sorry if I'm not reading them all.
Yeah, so I think we've mentioned this on Twitter. Each of us.
I think we mentioned it on a show. Like Rogue Squadron just reskinned Top Gun Maverick. They've taken it off of the release schedule. That's all they've said. They haven't like officially shelved it. It's the same with all of them. They've pulled it off the release schedule because it was dated for next year, and it was just like that's not happening, everyone. Like. Yeah. But they hadn't taken it off officially, and so now when they do, of course, all news outlets go,
just give it to Bryce Dallas Howard, let her do it.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, if Patty Jenkins can't do it, just throw her under the bus and say, hey, she can do it.
Yeah.
We're ready to go.
Yeah, Warner Brothers locked her up in a cage and told her that if you won't do movies for us, you can't do movies for anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah. We got what else did we get this episode? We talked about the sort of the Separatist and Republic ship. I don't know what's going on there. I think we might see more. There's a shot in the trailer. I only watched that trailer once or twice. There was a shot of like Cassian in an Imperial uniform climbing into a ship or like walking through a ship. So it maybe we'll get flashbacks to him going back to his home planet at some point.
Well, we still haven't seen, and this is I should just stop watching trailers altogether. We still haven't seen the Star Destroyer over.
No, and that seems to be that same planet. So yeah, it might just be a case of he is going to go back.
Come back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if he's looking for his sister, we know that he's looking for his sister. That's going to be the first place that he'd look, surely.
Yeah, and I've been liking it's sort of like Lost, where the flashbacks are kind of going at the same time as the current timeline, and with the way this is set up, the timing where him leaving the ship with Marva and then him leaving with Luthen, is that his name?
Luthen Rael.
Like those scenes coming together at the same time.
And also like
very Lost.
First episode he's a bit of an outcast in his own group, same as he is in town. Second episode, he's going off, he's doing his own thing. Third episode, he's, it's that newfound family. It's the new people that he's joining, whether he likes it or not, being rescued by. They do parallel. I mean, the flashbacks and shows, Lost perfected it. They didn't hit it out of the park with every single one, but like for the most part, they were always
further instructions.
We don't talk about that episode. The Jack
at least
third
episode of Lost. That one I still think is an important episode.
Is that because it has one of the original members of the rebellion in it, who was also she was cut out of episode 3 as well as Mon Mothma.
Really?
Bai Ling. So the funny story about that, and one of the potential reasons that we didn't get Mon Mothma in episode 3 is because Bai Ling was like one of the other senators.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, she was one of the other senators. But then before the movie came out, she did a Playboy shoot. And apparently George was like, I can't have stars of my movie in Playboy. And so cut all of her scenes out. And all of her scenes also had Mon Mothma in. So he just lost that plotline. It could just be an absolute coincidence, but she's a weird person. Like, I heard a podcast with her being interviewed on it, not about Star Wars or anything, like in the midst of the lockdown and pandemic and everything, and she had like gone and written my pandemic love story movie and like made it with like 2 other people, and it was like we're talking like 3 weeks into the pandemic. It's like, I mean, you're jumping on it straight away, fair play, but you are a weird person. Like, she is.
I need to see this.
She reminds me a lot of Yoko Ono, if that makes sense. She's just out there, and you don't know whether you want to love it or hate it.
Experimental.
She's super experimental.
Okay, I know. Okay, let's get back to Andor in a minute. In a second, we'll get back to Andor. But I just want to say something about Stranger in a Strange Land, the episode of Lost. It's sleight of hand. It's the episode that says, "Here's Jack. This is how low he's been. He's in this. He's island hopping. He's on these planes. He's like crazy and out of it. And he's in Thailand, and he's like all jacked up." So by the time we get the next flashback, which is the White Rabbit. It's the season finale of episode finale of season 3.
Yeah.
So when he's on the plane with the big beard, you're like, oh, we're jumping on from where we were. Back. This is him coming back. He's got the big beard. He's all out of it and stuff. And then the bait and switch of it's a flash forward. It's like totally gets you. So it's a magic trick. So the Stranger in the Strange Land is important so that you're thinking one thing and not,
that. I get it.
That's the only reason I like it. It's not a good episode, but that's why I think it's important. Yeah,
sure. I get that. I can link this back to Star Wars. I watched that season finale of Lost, season 3 finale with, the we have to go back, the famous scene.
Yeah.
I watched that in my hotel room when I was in LA at Celebration 4.
Oh, wow.
Which was the 40th anniversary of A New Hope. There you go. It all comes back round. It all links back to Star Wars and Lost eventually with us. I don't know how we got there. That was great. We talked about the drop ships. I really like the design of those drop ships. They look like the Republic ones. They look a little bit thinner, a little bit skinnier, a little bit sleeker as well. Like, they're not built for war. I don't think these ones, they are built for,
because they can't hold up a piece of garbage.
Yeah, right. They're not towing anything in those.
They're literally to get troops down to the ground, and that's it.
They're more like the drop ships that we see like later on in like the Force Awakens and things like that.
Yeah, I really like the drop ships, but I like the ship that they got dropped from.
It was cool. That looked
really unique design.
Yeah.
Again, not even closely remotely near like a Star Wars design.
Except High Republic. Again, I can bring it back. High Republic opens with a hyperspace disaster, and there's like it's a written book, but there was a children's book that went alongside, and so there was some illustrations that you got some of the designs. And the ship that gets caught up in this great hyperspace disaster has a very similar design. I think it's a little bit longer, but it's like a cargo ship. It's the way it looks. It's like it's a space cargo ship where it's just this big bulky freighter, not sleek like the Falcon or anything. It's just like it's there for cargo.
Efficiency. They're all about efficiency.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Hold on. This is Scott G just said Locke hanging out on the drug farm episode. That's further instructions. I hate that episode. That's my least favorite episode.
That's really bad. Yeah. And doesn't push the story forward at all.
No. And doesn't get revisited.
No, just completely ignored. And Hold and Maneuver podcast. It was the Storm podcast. Formerly Storm with spoilers, then the Storm. It was Game of Thrones to begin with, then they did a Lost rewatch. It's really, really good. Dave Gonzalez is really good on Twitter. Dave Gonzalez, Joanna Robinson, Neil Miller, all really, really good follows in sort of film and entertainment sphere. Marva and her partner seem to be like scavengers. They're in the flashback. They They go in. They probably are tracking this. This is during the Clone Wars, we assume. So they're going in. They're seeing a ship crash. They're going, sweet, we can get some loot off of that. Her partner, I didn't write his name down. He's worried about the Republic who are incoming. And they say that the kids just killed a Republic officer.
Right.
So it would seem that these are Republic officers, but they're in a separatist uniform. We don't know what's going on there.
Yeah. But, we may find out. I think we'll find out.
But I don't know if we need to.
Flashbacks will continue. Yeah, I know. I think there's enough context clues there for us to kind of figure it out.
War's messy. Yeah. War is messy, and I think the one of the big points of this story is that like neither side are good, neither side are bad. It's all about your perspective. It's where you are, where you're positioned. Like it will dictate how you feel about it.
Right. Scott D says, "Are these people yellow because of the gas on the ship?" I think so. We discussed it.
I got that more this time around. Yesterday, when I watched it, it was yesterday. I wasn't too sure. I thought maybe they were just yellow aliens. But I this time round, it definitely seems like they're humans because all the gas is coming out that is quite yellowy. It definitely seems like they're all poisoned, and the fact that she's wearing a gas mask to begin with when she enters.
Right.
So who knows? Maybe they were all poisoned on that ship.
Space sickness. There was an episode of Clone Wars where people were turning into like zombies and stuff. Did they turn weird colors?
That was a Geonosian thing, wasn't it? I think there was a worm going in. Something that was zombifying them. I can't remember.
But I don't know if we've seen. I don't know how much sickness we've seen in Star Wars.
Poisonings. There's been poisonings and poison gas and things.
Yeah.
I
don't know how many times we've seen like people sick and like
turning full colors. No.
Yeah.
No. It was quite video gamey. As was the opening when we saw like the scrappers and things like that, like flying around. It looked like the beginning of Jedi Fallen Order, where you're on the scrapper planet. I got the sort of same feeling as this. And in last week's episode as well, we found out that that they were asking about a scrap shipment from Wobani coming in. And I was watching Rogue One last night because I didn't get around to it the other night when I wanted to. And Wobani is the prison planet that Jin is on. So like the Imperial like work camp. So, tying little place names and things in there. It's quite nice.
I mentioned this yesterday and I posted a tweet about it and then I deleted it because I realized that I had bad information on my tweet. Let me bring this up if I can. This will be real quick. Hold on one sec. Just give me, I'm almost there. It's almost happening.
We're getting
here we go. So Mobius art. I mentioned Mobius art yesterday, and I posted a tweet about it, and I posted like 4 pictures, and then one of them I realized was like someone doing something in the style of Mobius because there was clearly a Qui-Gon Jinn and a unarmored C-3PO. Like they did a Mobius style episode 1. But
is it James Sakai or something?
John Gerard.
Oh, okay.
Gerard.
But they're all like similar.
They're all like heavy metal. So I was looking at his art and I'm like, okay, this feels like directly like what we're seeing here, especially like with this bus. When he came into the scrapyard in the bus, it was like these Mobius colors.
Yeah.
With this hand, this direction.
I love it. Yeah. Is that from the Incal? It looks like
no.
Justin's mentioned
I have
the Incal.
I have no idea.
I remember
vaguely know him from stuff like Fifth Element, Blade Runner,
Dune. He did Dune. The concept art of Todorowsky's Dune. That was never got made, but Todorowsky I think wrote the Incal and it was drawn.
Similar, but he did work for like heavy metal and stuff.
Yeah.
But that's what this looks like. This planet looks like that. They even there's a Mobius drawing I saw of like sort of the cliffside.
Yeah.
With a bubble sticking out of it and a person in the bubble, like almost straight up the opening scene from this series. So I like that they're going. I mean, listen, I love Ralph McQuarrie, but it seems like everyone feels like they're so beholden to that. Even Doug Chang, who's like the next big Star Wars illustrator, has this sort of, I want to pay reverence to Ralph McQuarrie. And in this one, and the fact that this one's being done in the UK, and is it still the UK? Are you guys still, does Brexit take the U away from it?
We're just okay. We're okay, I suppose.
but to have like the influence, I believe it's clearly influenced by Mobius, who's a French designer.
He's brilliant. Yeah.
I really feel like they're doing that, and it's super refreshing because everything doesn't look like Tatooine. Everything doesn't look like, Cloud City. Like you have a whole galaxy, everything can't be done by the same designers. And they're really like, Tony Gilroy is really like going for it. I'd love, like, this feels like some sort of like heavy metal sort of storyline, like a really sort of dense sci-fi, real like interesting world. And I'm like way into it. I believe Mobius did design the spacesuits, and then Giger
did the alien stuff. Okay, that's really interesting because because there definitely is a through line of like the European artists there. Another one,
I absolutely,
not a European,
absolutely love it.
Yeah,
but you were saying the scrapyard when he comes in on the Airbus, and then there's the droid that was a stair droid.
I've got like, stair droid written down as one of my
notes.
So
good,
love it. It's just such a subtle little thing. You don't need it, but it's like, what a cool thing. Instead of just being some stationary stairs, there's a stair droid that rolls around. I think it would make a lot of sense in a bus station. Another artist, just to mention, James Stokoe. One of his first books, Wonton Soup, little.
I've heard of that.
Yeah, it's really cool. He's definitely was influenced by Mobius and the Incal and those sorts of styles. Really, really cool. Like that hyper detailed, real small, thin line. Like very, very cool art. I like it a lot.
Man. Even the colors. Everyone's like their yellows and oranges.
I mean, this
greens.
Like all of the sort of the small digest only press stuff is black and white, but I've seen some of his color stuff, and he does pin-ups and stuff, and it wouldn't surprise me if it was him. Oh no, it wasn't. You said the guy. He's done some Star Wars pieces in the past just as a pin-up, and like when he goes full color, it's really, really amazing. There was one of like, it was Spider-Man in Vietnam, basically. It was just a weird mashup piece that he did once, and it's such a cool piece of art. Love it. Really good one of Galactus as well that I'm a big fan of.
This show, I don't think we've discussed design on any of the Disney series,
because it's all sort of felt,
it's all the same.
It's all the same. It's all felt the same. It's all felt very familiar. Well, there is a familiarity to
comfort. It's the comfort. It's like comfort food. It's you got Star Wars has to be a thing. But I like that even George Lucas, when he did the prequels, he's like, Star Wars could be a different thing. It could look like this. And then it's like, this is amazing.
And
I kind of wish they pushed the design in the sequel trilogy a little bit more.
Like there's contemporaries of Ralph McQuarrie, like they were doing sci-fi art at the same time. So why not go, hey, while this side of the galaxy is looking this way, what about these guys over here? They might have a very different design and different look on things. And that's what this feels like. It's the same time frame, it's the same era, but it's not exactly the same.
So I posted on Twitter today side-by-side comparisons of Tron Legacy and Andor Episode 1.
Just before we went live.
And Tron was Sid Mead, who also worked on Tron, and he worked on like Blade Runner. Sid Mead is another one of those futurist guys. Along the lines of a Ralph McQuarrie. He was doing similar stuff to Ralph McQuarrie, like doing futuristic housing designs and futuristic car designs. He designed the light cycles.
You've probably seen one of his books in a bookstore or a comic book store or something. Like they're always these big, like nice oversized art books. Like I can see covers of them. They're always gorgeous books to have a flick through.
Did Sid Mead do anything for Star Wars? I want to say he did, but you only hear the name McQuarrie thrown around.
That's it.
And then Joe Johnston's designs.
I feel like his name might have come up in Light and Magic if he had. I think they would have at least given him an offhand mention.
But like those two guys, like Sid Mead is like Tron. Tron is.
I feel like Sid Mead is like smoother lines, Ralph McQuarrie's somewhere in between, and then Mobius is sort of like hyper detailed, tiny, there is a through line. Yeah, there's a through between all three of them.
Yeah.
What else do we got? We mentioned the stair droid.
I agree with this.
Great.
He said the cyberpunk Blade Runner field previously discussed even carried through this episode. He felt like the warehouse had similar carries to the orphanage and
the brickwork. I think it was the brickwork. It definitely felt like the big furnace that.
Is this the first time we get bricks in Star Wars?
I was thinking that because we see a lot of brick. A lot of this is brickwork, like built, and it's as Stevie mentions here. It makes it feel real. It makes it feel like an actual set that has been built, not just some plasterboard that has been designed. It feels like a building that has been put a few props in, but like it's a real
place.
Yeah.
It's like this show. And I don't know what the response is yet. I don't know what people are saying about it. A friend of mine said he thought it was boring.
I had a friend say that like
I love it so much.
Went to bed halfway through the second episode, but I'm like, just stick around. They're short episodes. Like they're not long, and they move at a good clip. Like and it's very, very good.
It's super refreshing. It is really so refreshing. And I haven't been this excited for Star Wars, like as far as the TV show. I haven't been this excited to see like the next one. Like
I feel like we've said that with every show that we've covered so far, but there is definitely a feeling with this one. Like
there's an unknown energy. Like the previous shows have been all about speculation, and especially with the last one with Obi-Wan, is like we're like, okay, we know where point A is and we know where point B is, and we know that we're just trying to fill that gap, and we're like, okay, this is how it can go because we've seen the end of the story. Although we've seen the end of Andor's story. What's great is in Rogue One, the only thing we know about him, he's in the rebellion. He has a huge chip on his shoulder, and he's been fighting since he was six.
That's it. And he's got a cool droid that we like. And that he seems to be quite well respected, and like is the go-to man for the shady stuff in the rebellion.
So his sort of backstory hasn't been told, and it's nice to see where he came from, but at the same time, like although the stakes aren't there as far as his life is concerned, because in that warehouse shootout, I'm like, well, he's not going to die.
No.
But even though the stakes aren't like through the roof, it's nice to see, like it's super fascinating to see how he gets to that guy.
Like even though we know he doesn't die, like you're still worried about him. You're still worried about what's going to happen because you forget that you know what happens.
Yeah.
Because it's told really well. It's done. Know. So yeah, I know what you mean, but like that's just the nature of the beast. But yeah, that warehouse scene was excellent. Like for a simple design location, we can hear that there's things going on above, and like we see that there's some scrap around and things like that. When that fight kicks off and things start falling from the ceiling, when it pans up and you see how much stuff is up there, it's this ever looming threat. And like after Luthen blows the doors and like we see that it's all kind of unstable, it's like, well, shit, at any point, any of these things could fall and flatten any of these people that are in here.
But then they start like flying back up and stuff.
Yeah, or like they seem to be on like pulley,
like on a pulley. Yeah,
it's great. It's such it allows them to do like really creative things with the action. Like that one dude, like just getting shot and dragged up in the air, like that looks super painful. I think I'd rather just be crushed to death.
Right, and then Andor gets hit with with that chain at one point.
Yeah, just right across the face.
A lot of metal getting hit across people's face in this one. There was a sound effect when the security guard handcuffed Biggs to the pipe and then smashed her head against the metal. Yeah. This is like awful. The sound design in the show just sounds so real.
This very much, and I know I was saying some things yesterday, but the way that the public are approaching these officers, the way that they're warning everyone else. I loved that warning so much. This is a show that has been made now. This is a show that has been made in a time when, for the most part,
question authority.
You question authority. You don't just go, "Oh, okay, they're cops. They're here to help us," because they're not the Empire. These are the people that are meant to protect and serve. But these guys aren't here to do that. They are here to flex their authority and to control their assets. Nothing else. Control their assets. And these guys aren't even doing that. They are just out for revenge. This is a revenge hunt.
Yeah.
For two officers that, okay, they got killed. They were dickheads, but they got killed. But they are just out there looking to fuck people up. And it's not good. And you buck against them because fuck the space police. Like it's and that seems to be like the general consensus amongst everyone in this town as well, especially by the end of it. And it's like they've had enough. And this is this feels like
these guys are kind of such assholes.
They're
such assholes that I'm feeling less and less bad about Andor killing two of them.
Just please, like I wouldn't even like be worried about that first one. They're dicks. And Bix like just being absolutely like manhandled and like slammed against that wall. Like Tim did get what he deserved. He was a dickhead who sold out like his friend or his associate unnecessarily, but like he did get shot in cold blood. He didn't have a weapon on him. He wasn't approaching aggressively. He was just asking what the hell is going on. Why is she bleeding? And it feels kind of gross to mention it, but it feels like he's the equivalent of someone going up and saying he can't breathe. Like it's parallels to that. And it's a show that's been made like in a post 2020 world. Like it's good. It's really, really good. And I can see why they might be worried that it's more mature, but they seem to be marketing it to the right people. And the general consensus that I've seen is that people are on board for it. And I think it's because of all these reasons that we're talking about.
I didn't feel bad when Tim got shot.
I didn't,
but because I want Bix to be with Cassian.
or just not with Tim because Tim's a dickhead. And that's like, I get why she's sad that he died because he didn't deserve death probably, but I think if he'd survived and if they'd all got away and it had all been happy, she was definitely like gonna be like, fuck you, dude, we're done. Like you can't do that. You can't be looking through my phone.
Jeremy Kelly's saying that more lives are being taken because of this
the one guy
desire to get revenge.
And it's this one middle management because his boss knows that it's not worth it. He's got to answer to the Empire directly and he doesn't want to rock the boat. But Cyril is just he's Dwight, as you said in the first episode. He's exactly that sort of character where he's given a little bit of power. This guy's off, his boss is off world, so he's got the authority and so he's going to use it. But the guy said, like, don't put your foot on my desk. And I don't think that was meant literally. This feels like he's metaphorically putting his feet up on that guy's desk by doing all of this stuff without proper authorization.
Yep. Totally. He's
I liked in the fight, like for the first half of it, the music was completely stripped back. We talked about enjoying the music, but you strip it back. You strip it back, and you've just got the blaster sounds, and you feel the weight of it a lot more as well. I think because it's like it's a gunfight, and it is just a straight gunfight, and it adds a level of tension to it and brutality. Yeah.
The music, Nicholas Brittle's doing a great job. It's funny, I was watching, he again was on the red carpet talking about how it's fun to dip your toes into Star Wars. And I'm like, but you're like not even doing Star Wars.
You're doing whatever you want to do.
Like Ludwig Göransson did his own thing with Mandalorian. But even that almost feels a little more Star Wars, but
especially when we start getting Empire in there, we start getting lightsabers in there, we start getting Mandalorians, so you're harkening back to themes that we've already heard.
I'm interested to see how it gets. I don't know, like once we get into the whole Star Wars of it all, if I think the music will shift towards that.
Maybe I feel like the show could like the next season is going to take place over 4 years. This is just taking place over this first year. So it would make sense, and I don't see that as a problem as they're getting closer to Rogue One and A New Hope. Like if it starts going a bit more along those lines, you can start introducing
that's
some
what
of those
Obi-Wan did.
Yeah,
Obi-Wan did that. Natalie Holt, I believe. Yeah, Natalie Holt. She started off doing her own things, doing her own themes, and Obi-Wan was kind of on his own. He was a hermit. It was a new version of Obi-Wan that we hadn't seen before.
But his theme was still written by John Williams.
Yeah, but yeah, it's true. But she kind of, people are like giving her shit online, which, guys, don't be assholes. Come on.
Don't be Minox.
Bunch of dickheads.
Yeah.
But even her score went more traditional the closer we got to A New Hope. And so I'm wondering if there's kind of doing a similar thing with this, but I don't know. Like the music so far has fit this world that's been created. So I'm curious to see if the music shifts more towards Star Wars the closer we get to seeing like TIE fighters and shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like kind of afraid, even though like the show is clearly has a vision, I'm really afraid of it starting to dip its toes into formula. Well, I really don't want it to dip its toes into formula because I really like this other take.
There's one classic theme that they could introduce that I know that you wouldn't be mad at when we do see some Imperials. If we got like the 77 Imperial theme.
Yeah.
I know that you wouldn't be mad at that.
I was just listening to Bizarre Albums, Tony Thaxton's. We need to get Tony on.
Tony would be great. I'd love to get Tony on.
But he was talking about how the Imperial March, the famous Imperial March, doesn't appear in Star Wars. And I'm like, I know that. I know that. That's 77 Imperial theme. I did a whole mini episode on it just because I love it so much.
Yeah, it was early as well. It was like really early. It was just after our Rogue One pod, I think. Couple of last little points that I've got here. Marva has that. It's a trope in spy thrillers, I feel, but when the good guy character is tied down or is like tied in place, but they are talking and they are the ones who are doing the intimidating.
Yeah,
and I loved it when the guy who's guarding her, or the two guys that are guarding her, like start saying, "What is this?" about the bells basically being rung. And she's describing.
She's like monologuing.
Like, this is a reckoning, and it's coming for you. You know, you want it to stop, but it doesn't. You can't escape it. But then when it does, that's when you should really be worried.
Right.
And
it's all mental. I love it.
And they flee. They bolt like as soon as it stops. They just leave her, which I think it's so good. And she has the upper hand in that situation, like all the way through. Very, very good. And then the end, the escape with the speeders, really liked it. Beautiful shots as they're flying out over the fields.
Where it's like hitting water, then sand, then
I mean it's the farm, it's the cropland, I guess, but it's just the way it's crossing over those biomes essentially. It's so good. But then we get the other side of it. So we get the citizens aren't going to be complacent anymore. They're not hearing the bells, getting up, going to work, going about their day, just doing their thing. It is a complete parallel to that montage at the beginning of episode 2. And then the other side of that is we get Cyril and the other guy, Linus, who feel like because they've blown up some other guys, they've attacked them, they're going to see this as an attack. They were already asshole cops, but now they're going to be radicalized asshole cops. And they're going to double down. They're going to start, I don't know, it wouldn't surprise me if they start trying to occupy this town more and more and more, as opposed to just visiting once a month.
Yeah.
So it's a double-edged sword. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy sort of thing where it's like you want to fight back, but in fighting back, you're causing them to become worse.
Right. They turn into rioters.
Well, that's it. Yeah. They're not. It's not a civil disturbance anymore. It's a riot.
Yeah. So speaking of the citizens of this town, I caught another glimpse of my favorite background guy, the
Oh, I
creepy
missed
kid.
him in this one. Creepy kid.
Yeah, it happened so quick, and I rarely do this. We just watch the episode and cool, but I had to like hold on, and I had to go back and show Stevie. And there's a shot of him, and I should have grabbed it. I don't know why I didn't grab it.
We'll put it up on some socials, I'm sure.
I'll grab it and then post it on Twitter at Live Action SW. I believe it's as the troops are walking in. He's standing up on a step.
I love him.
And he jumps down the step.
Oh yes, I did see that. I did.
Did you see that? Okay.
It's the hop. It's the weird little hop. It's such a weird choice.
The editors, I feel like the editors saw this dude because in the last time we mentioned him, I think it was the second episode. It might have been the first. But like he's definitely like prominent sort of the action's happening here, but he's in the middle of the frame and they stay on him while he's doing his creepy. And so now the shot didn't have to start and stop there, like where it was edited in.
Yeah.
But he was dead center. He was like I was just right on the right third of the frame. And I just saw him like this. Because he's like kind of yellowish. And he was just like this and he jumped off of the thing.
It's just like a weird look. His hands are doing something odd.
I'll do some animated GIFs. I'll try to find them.
We've got a GIF page on liveactionstarwars.com or liveactionsw.com. Like there is a page on there that is just GIFs that Ralph has made, and like definitely, I think this guy needs the GIF treatment.
I mean, if other podcasts aren't talking about this dude, I think we should be the champions.
I've gone out of my way of not listening to any podcasts or seeing too much coverage about this show. I've seen obviously some reactions on Twitter, but I've been banking a few things. Like I don't tend to listen to too many because I like my opinions to be sort of my own. But like I now that I've watched them all twice through, I kind of want to go and see what other people are talking about, see if there's things that I've missed. And also, this show is infinitely rewatchable. Someone said it yesterday. I think it might have been Luciani, it might have been Jeremy. It feels so far, at least, I'm not bored of these episodes. And as I said, I've watched them all once through. Like my first run, I've watched them all immediately before we've recorded each episode, and I haven't had a chance to watch them with Liz yet because I've been at work. She's been super busy this week, but over the weekend she wants to watch them. We're going to watch them all again, and I'm excited to watch them all through a third time.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to going back to episode 1 and rewatching it because I feel now that I understand who these characters are and what's going on, it'll be a lot easier for me to follow. Not that it wasn't easy to follow, but it's so dense. That first episode, you get introduced to so many characters, and there's all these scenes of people chatting and stuff. And so it's like, okay, I want to rewatch it just to sort of appreciate it a little bit more. But fuck, I love this show, dude. I think it's so good. It's so good. And I can picture every single moment that the Minoc fanboys will complain about. And I'm just like, no, I love it.
I just don't care.
I love it.
And
it's even though that
Skarsgård
has the lightsaber walking stick.
Oh yeah, he's got a retractable walking stick, which again, super cool, nice little design. But it's Star Wars. There's always going to be things like that.
But I like that there's no lightsabers. It is crazy that I'm sure people are like, where's the stormtroopers?
Where's the Star Wars in my Star Wars? Like
who cares?
Who cares? This is a really good show.
This is new Star Wars. This is Star Wars we haven't seen. That's more exciting than Star Wars we have seen.
This is like people talk about Rogue One being a war movie and everything, and there is just some elements of that, but it's still a Star Wars movie. This is a spy thriller set in Star Wars. This isn't a Star Wars spy thriller. This is a spy thriller set in Star Wars.
I love Rogue One. I think Gareth Edwards, for being the first Skywalker saga movie, he knew what they cast the right director to come in and make it different because they needed to say like, hey, listen, there's going to be some Star Wars that isn't Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader and the Force. And the fact that he comes in like with his handheld cameras and gets down in the dirt with all these guys, puts his cameras aren't locked off like Lucas. They're not like, there's not these crazy crane shots. It's like all like very in the trenches, and you can talk about
huge. You can talk about huge. Like the differences and like the fact that was a quote unquote troubled production and that Tony Gilroy had to come in and quote unquote save it and everything. But Gareth Edwards was there and talking about the film and said that, yeah, Tony came in and did a lot for us. He was there. It wasn't like there doesn't seem to be any butthurt. Like Gareth Edwards seemed receptive of all of those, the assistants and the changes and everything. It still feels like it was his movie with some assistance from Tony Gilroy.
I had a conversation with Gareth Edwards post Rogue One. I chatted with him about Star Wars. The dude still loves Star Wars. There's no sore spot.
There's no one's butthurt. It's not a situation with what's his name, the Jurassic World guy who was sacked off.
Colin
Trevorrow, yeah, or even like Lord and Miller off of Solo. Like this Gareth Edwards feels like it was still Rogue One. It was still his. Yeah. All the way through, even when they were going in and doing changes. Maybe he wasn't on set for all of them.
I really don't know how much they changed, except for the last act. They just didn't go down to the beach.
Yeah, and so what we got as a last act is amazing. So if that's what they had to change, great, fine. If they didn't, we don't know. I know at the time, Gilroy said that like he came in and he had to like save it and he did a lot of work on it, but who knows, at the time he was
not noticeable.
It's not
like there's certain movies like if you look at the Joss Whedon cut of Justice League, you could tell like what the reshoots are. You can tell where things were cut out and cobbled together. With Rogue One, it feels like a cohesive movie. So whatever Gilroy did, he made it work. He's the correct tone.
Exactly.
And it felt like everything feels right.
You work with what you got.
And the fact that, I don't know, it just with Gilroy in there and then him now doing this, it feels like he's taking what Gareth Edwards did and is continuing that as far as like
they feel of a piece. Yeah.
They both those movies to me feel very overcast British weather.
Yeah.
And it's again, this show is boots on the ground, handheld cameras. It's not slick. It's not shot like stylistically. It's just, we have a camera guy that we dropped into actual Star Wars and we can shoot it from every angle because we built these sets.
Yeah.
There's
a geography
we could see the backside of a rock, the backside of a.
We can walk around there. We don't walk into a screen when we go there. We actually could walk around. You can
walk into the building and you're in that set. Like it all feels so one thing. I think it was Bryce Dallas Howard did the Mandalorian episode of Book of Boba Fett.
The one take where he walks into the spaceport, goes in the elevator, goes up, and he comes out, and it's clearly just him on one surface in the volume. But he's on a
background's
plane.
Moving around him.
Yeah, that's it. He's on a plane. He's on a smaller area. Yeah.
But that camera is locked off.
Yeah.
It may be a steady cam, but it's like it feels like a production of Star Wars.
Yeah.
That's one of my main issues with we got to get going. But that's one of my main issues with The Last Jedi is that it feels like a production of Star Wars. This show and Rogue One feels like you're in Star Wars, and that's what I like about it. And I think this show's phenomenal, and I can't wait to talk about it on Wednesday.
We've got to wait until Wednesday, and I'm like,
it's we only get a half hour coming up.
Yeah, but I'm glad that we did 3 like over consecutive days because it has cut this weight down now, and just a few days until Wednesday. We don't have to wait a full week. After that, going forward, it's going to be a bit tougher. But yeah, guys, thank you for joining us all week long. Thank you for joining us in the live chat. We will be back on Wednesday. It will be at the regular time of 7:30 and 3:30, wherever you are in the world. I'm
feeling a little better. I'm going to see about getting us some guests.
Yeah, we've got
some lined up.
We've got a couple lined up already. I've got some days that I don't have to rush off to work, so we're going to hopefully have some guests on there. We're going to get some more later on in the season. Love having you in the chat and being part of the show every week. So please come back on Wednesday. We look forward to seeing and hearing from you. And yeah, guys, follow all the things, go all the places. I've got to run, so I'm gonna say my thing. Don't give in to hate.
Celebrate the love.
Punch it.
I'm gonna make sure this time that I got to punch it in there before I hit this button.